Hi, I'm Libby Gibson, Town Manager. Welcome to What's Going On in Town Government. We had a huge meeting this week. We haven't had a huge meeting like this, Gino, in a little while.
Really interesting.
It was our time, but we did have a lot of varied topics to get through. So among them, Farmer Street is closed through the end of next week. It's a little street that runs in between Pine and Fair for sewer and water main replacements.
What street isn't being worked on, Libby?
That's a good question. What street isn't being worked on?
You can't get around anywhere anymore.
I know. I ran into a problem today at Cumberland Farms. What are we going to call that place? New Cumberland Farms? And then the new one's going to become the old one?
Right.
The new old? I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
I know.
Figure it out and let me know what we're going to call it. Okay, we had an update, an announcement, more of an announcement from the DPW director about two things, and you're not going to like this. The Massasoit Bridge has essentially been closed to trucks. It's open to passenger vehicles, but it's closed to large trucks because there is an inspection that was done about a week ago, which revealed some structural deficiencies in that bridge.
Where is that bridge?
That bridge is out in Matticat, and it runs down South Cambridge Street, I believe, is the street that comes off Matticat Road, and it leads out to Red Barn Road area, Sheep Pond Road, back in there.
Where Mr. Rogers used to live?
No. That's Massachusetts Avenue. This is way before that. If you take a left, but right at the Matticat Marine turnoff, if you're heading towards Matticat, take a left there, wind down in there, and you cross that bridge.
Okay.
It's at the head of Long Pond.
Oh, okay. It's on the left.
Yeah, it's on the left.
Yeah, it's kind of towards Tristram's Landing, or not.
Yes, in that area.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so that we're trying to get an inspection done from a structural engineer to tell us specifically what we need to do to fix it. And then we're going to have to probably do some emergency repairs. But this is going to take a little while. Even in an emergency, there's still some procurement requirements that have to be dealt with.
How did we get into this position in the first place?
Well, I think DPW is looking into how we might have gotten into that position, because this bridge was repaired not very long ago, within the last 4 or 5 years. And there's a little bit of suspicion about overweight trucks going across there. I mean, it has a gross vehicle weight of something, but there's a lot of work that's been going on out there, and
I see.
That might have something to do with it. I don't think there's a definitive answer on that, but that might be part of it. So there's that situation. So suffice it to say, we're working as hard as we can to get it dealt with quickly, because we understand that it's a burden to a lot of people. It's very inconvenient, particularly with deliveries and things like that. So if you're out there over that bridge, you might want to think about an alternate delivery site, not your house. Okay? Some pieces. Otherwise, the roundabout way is not ideal.
Oh, I see. Right. There is a roundabout way.
Well, there's another way to get there. It's not public. That's not a public road that leads over there. It's a private road, technically. So even though a lot of people from the public use it to get down to the beach, but it's not a road the town is able to say, hey, everybody use this. It's not our road to say that about.
Okay.
Anyway, this is just one of those things. It happens. Just when you think things are going kind of okay, this happens. Milk Street Bike Path is supposed to start next week, hopefully to get done before the end of the month. And what else did we have? We had some consent items. We had a public hearing on, our second public hearing on committee applications. So people who are applying for the board, committee, and commission vacancies that expire at the end of this month are applying, and they were able to speak, given an opportunity to speak on their applications, and the board will make appointments on June 21st at our next meeting.
But there's still a lot of openings, I noticed.
There are some. There are some.
Is that typical?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's fewer than usual, though, I would say. I would say more people have applied for things than normal.
Okay, good.
Under the town manager's report, we had a lot of items. We had somebody from our town council's office giving an overview of the Marijuana Act, which was approved at last fall's election,
that was really
state election. That was interesting.
All right, so go into that.
Well, there's a lot of issues with this. This has to do with retail, recreational sales and use. Okay, and the state is currently finalizing regulations about this. And municipalities, they're, need to have some time to come up with regulations of their own in their own towns about where these things might be located and where they might not be located. So we have not, in our town, put into effect a zoning bylaw which would regulate where such a establishment could be located. So we talked about a couple things, and apparently April 1st, 2018 is a deadline of sorts for towns to impose moratoriums on these establishments, the retail or recreational marijuana establishments, while you, as a town, figure out where they're going to go and what there may be limits as to what you can restrict. I should have brought my overview. The overview is posted online. If you go to the town website under meetings and agendas, or agendas and meetings, if you look at the agenda, Selectmen's agenda for June 7th, it is in the packet. In any event, this led to a discussion about, do we need to have a special town meeting then? Because our annual town meeting for 2018 is on April 3rd. So that has not been finalized yet, so we're going to be having some discussion about that. There's also an issue about the transport of the product, marijuana, over water. And there are federal restrictions to what you can and can't transport over water. So this gets into some issues of how will the product get here. And for the medical marijuana establishment, dispensary, which has been, there is one that there's a proposal to have one here. You're supposed to have one in every county if you get an application for one. You have to approve at least one somewhere along the line. And in any event, that type of establishment cannot transport their product over water. They will have to grow it here.
They can't fly it.
No,
I mean, it can either fly
over water, boat,
anything.
plane,
Okay.
whatever. It can't go over water.
So it would have to be grown here.
Yeah. So for the medical dispensary, they have a plan to grow it here. You know, it's in a greenhouse.
Oh, yeah.
It's in a contained, secured area. There are a lot of restrictions about the containment and the security.
Is that coming? Has that been finalized?
It's been approved by the state, but well, I'm not sure it's been approved by the state. I forget.
Do we know where it's going to be?
Yes, it's going to be on Old South Road.
Okay.
Sort of near Amelia Drive, a little bit.
Okay.
In between Amelia and Young's Way.
Oh.
On that side of the road.
Wow, that's like right next to the big new.
It's in the vicinity of that. It's in
right
the vicinity.
in there.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's either been approved by the state, but they haven't gone any further yet, or it's about to be approved by the state. I can't remember right this second where it stands, but it also has to go through the planning board for a special permit.
Okay. The way I understood it was, if we have a special town meeting, we're going to vote for whether we even want to have it or not. We could prohibit it totally from the island. Is that correct? Or is there a conflict between?
I'm not sure we can prohibit it totally from the island.
Recreationally, you can't?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think you can restrict where it goes. I should have brought my overview.
Okay.
There's a lot to it. And I probably ought to know right off the bat if we can prohibit it or not. You can have a moratorium on it so that for a period of time while you are coming up with your regulations to rules to regulate it, you wouldn't have one.
Okay.
So, but I think the whole thing is you can have one.
Let's find out about that.
Yeah, it might go by county. I mean, we only have the one town in a county, so there may be, if you're in a county with multiple towns, individual towns might be able to put a ban on, but in the overall county, you can't put a ban on the overall county.
Is it possible that we could have marijuana, recreational marijuana downtown in conjunction with some of the liquor bars that we have?
Is it possible? Yes, depending on the zoning bylaw. Is it likely? Doubtful. Very doubtful. Based on what I've heard from the Board of Selectmen, I don't think they would be in favor of a downtown marijuana cafe. That's what they seem to be called. In other towns, that might be an economic benefit. But I don't think it's going to be viewed that way here.
If you have a wine club, you could have a marijuana club too, right? I mean, once it's legal,
But there are a lot of restrictions. Okay, so while it's illegal, there remain numerous restrictions. So I'm at our next show, I'll come back with the answer of can we ban it? I believe the answer is no. We cannot ban it, but we can regulate it, and you can regulate where it is allowed. And there are some local restrictions that you can, there are 3 or 4 areas of local control, but I don't believe one of them is an outright ban.
Okay, well, we'll find out.
Because it passed the legislative process.
Sure.
Okay, we also had an update about facility improvements at Our Island Home. There are a lot of different improvements going on there to address deficiencies and also just general repair and maintenance, other items like that. We are also going to be undergoing, we're going to do an RFP, request for proposals, for an operational assessment of the facility. We've had this before, not for a few years though, so this is sort of taking a look at how we operate the facility and are there recommendations to make it more efficient, improve some of the quality measures, things like that.
Because it's not going to be going anywhere for a while. We're going to keep it there and we're going to maintain it.
For at least a period of time until it's ever decided again if we're going to put forward a proposal to rebuild it elsewhere. It's where it is right for now.
Right.
We had an update from Vineyard Wind. This is a company that is looking to construct a wind farm off the shore, off the vineyard in Nantucket, that way. And the idea would be that potentially there could be electric cables that come from it to the vineyard and Nantucket and possibly the Cape. So they were just giving an update about their project. It's really an interesting situation.
Because there's a huge amount of land that is leased by the federal government, and that they were able to...
Water.
Right, I'm sorry, water.
Yes, there is. So they have a lease.
They have a lease, that's right.
And there's some other leases out there as well that haven't really gone anywhere yet. But there's one.
They're further away, though.
They're further away. One is off Block Island, which is operational now.
Right, that's the first one.
That's the first one. So that was interesting. So we're going to be following that very carefully. Lauren Sinatra, our energy coordinator, is on top of this. We had an update about restaurant occupancy compliance inspections. And there was some controversy recently about, and I think a lot of misinformation about what the town is or isn't trying to do. And there was some explanation about, I don't know how I can combine this into a nutshell, but this came up with the Board of Selectmen actually 2 or 3 years ago. And the idea was that on entertainment licenses and perhaps liquor licenses, there should be a number on there about what the allowed occupancy is. And that sounds kind of easy, but then you get into things like, well, there's seats versus number of people who can be in the establishment, and those numbers tend to be different. Particularly if you are a restaurant that after a certain hour moves the tables aside and becomes more of a club-ish place. So we were talking about that. The building commissioner was present. The health officer was present. There's some issue between their individual codes. So there's some ongoing discussion about it, but I think it cleared things up a little. And there's a meeting next week with the restaurants to go over it. And I think the big point to be made is that no restaurants have been shut down. This is a public safety exercise. No one wants to shut restaurants down. No one wants people to suffer economically or anything like that. We understand, I think, that restaurants and entertainment is an economic driver here. But we need to be safe and fair. There was quite a bit of talk about consistency and fairness in the application of the regulations that apply to these things. So we had a lot of talk about that.
How is this being enforced?
Well, right now I think it's more of an educational thing, an educational effort. Although if there is an establishment that clearly is over capacity, I believe what they are being asked to do is, as people leave, don't let additional people back in. That's how it's being enforced right at the moment.
Okay.
We had another long item on our agenda, water quality initiatives update. This is an update we've been giving to the board a couple of times a year, the staff, and we go over initiatives by the Health Department, Natural Resources Department, Public Works, sewer, water, and then we have some other initiatives just generally that we're all working on. So we went through all of that.
Oh, did we compare? What are we doing with that, and what's the state of the situation? I mean, you said this is the second time they've done this in the past year, right?
You mean given an update?
Yeah. Is it getting better?
Water quality?
Yeah.
In some areas, yes. In some areas, no. So we talked about that.
And what do we do?
Well, there's a lot of different things that we're doing, and maybe go to the packet that I mentioned, and it's all laid out. But there are things like there's testing that we're doing. There are fertilizer regulations in place to minimize or ideally eliminate the amount of nitrogen that's going into harbors and waterways from fertilizer. That's one area. There are septic system issues. The Board of Health has adopted some regulations that are strict about septic systems, but septic systems, no matter what, as I understand it, there is going to be some amount of nitrogen that continues to come out of them. So it's more of a reduction effort right now.
But they're not just testing, right? I mean, they're implementing things that are...
There's some doing, yes. Yes, and some of the things that I just mentioned are what we're working on: septic systems, fertilizer.
Stormwater drainage.
Stormwater is coming up. That's going to be a big, significant effort that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. So that's kind of why it took a while here. We're trying to prevent, there's a lot of education about detergents and educating boaters not to use soaps and detergents to clean their boats in the harbor.
Right.
So
why not have a big sign that says this harbor is, when they come in, there's a sign there that says do not use soaps.
There are signs that say this is a federal no discharge zone. That's more for black water, but it also applies to gray water and stuff. Well, I think there are signs, Gino, and there are. Well,
maybe I don't pull.
There are brochures and handouts. Do you have a boat?
Yeah, but I mean, when you're driving a boat into the harbor, you're not getting nobody's handing you a handout while you're driving your boat in.
Well,
if there was a sign there, they could see it and go, okay, this is a very sensitive area for scholars.
Okay, but they have to anchor if they're going to be here overnight, or attach to a mooring, or come into a boat slip. And at every one of those places, they get a handout.
Before they get to the dock, they could be throwing their junk overboard before they get the handout.
They could be,
I'm concerned about that.
Well, I'm not sure how we can specifically address that unless we have, I don't know.
Put a sign on the jetty. This is just my idea. It doesn't matter.
But people get sign fatigue and they don't pay attention to signs.
Well, one sign there that says this is a sensitive area wouldn't be so bad. I agree with you. I don't like signs either. But that one is an important one.
Okay, I don't know if that's gonna. I'm gonna jot down that note. Sign at jetties per Gino.
There you go.
There's. Anyway. I don't want to sound like a bureaucrat because I hate that, but the jetties are not owned by the town. They're owned by the federal government, so we have to go through them to get a sign, and suffice it to say that that's probably like almost getting an act of Congress to put, okay.
Starts with an idea.
It starts with an idea, and it's not a bad idea. So maybe it could be a pleasing to the eye sign, but that attracts you and makes you read it and pay attention to it.
And then it makes you think, and also, I think it permeates too, because when you're aware of how important the harbor is, you start to be more aware of what you put in the groundwater and everything else. I think it's...
Okay, it's something to look into. Good idea. We also had a discussion about the entertainment license of, it wasn't really a discussion about this, but the board scheduled a hearing regarding the entertainment license of Nantucket Prime, the place up here at 29 Broad Street, and the issue is outdoor television.
Oh.
So we're going to have a public hearing to consider
Don't they have one up there?
Yes.
People don't like it?
No, but it's allowed. It's on their entertainment license. They are allowed to have it. Last December, when there was some discussion at the renewal of the entertainment licenses process at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, they agreed that they would relocate it. And I guess the relocation has taken some time, and there have been some verbal complaints about it, and the board might consider modifying the license. So that's going to happen on June 21st. We also had some discussion under the Selectmen's section of the agenda about the possibility of a taxi rate discount for senior citizens. There is something of a discount now, but some board members have gotten input from senior citizens that the rates are burdensome for them. And so we got into a discussion about, well, you know, who really should it apply to? Year-round senior citizens? What if they're senior citizens that come in on an airplane and go to somewhere in a cab, and should they be given the discount? So it got a little bit, what's the word? Off track somewhat.
Oh, off track.
So, well, hot, okay, maybe that's a little bit of a word. And the board did not actually take specific action. They did, maybe they did. I think we scheduled a public hearing for September 13th to discuss this some more. And in the meantime, if people have thoughts about this, I think we'd be very happy to get them.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about next steps regarding our strategic plan activities. We had a retreat on May 20th with a facilitator, but it got to be too late. It was 10 o'clock at night by the time we got done with the meeting. So we're going to do that at our next meeting, the 21st.
I got a possible solution for that taxi thing. Why don't independent taxis just like promote themselves as offering that? Because, you know, if others don't do it, it'd be more attractive for them to...
I'm not sure. And
okay.
They could take credit cards too, but they don't, so I don't know.
Right.
Okay, so Gino, what else are you hearing? We don't have a selectmen's meeting next week. We are on our summer schedule, which means that we meet twice a month, June, July, and August. We actually have maybe a 3-week interim time at the end of August into September. So check the town website if you want to know, but our next meeting is the 21st. And the meeting after that is July 5th. And I think we will be getting an update from police and others perhaps about how July 4th went at that meeting.
Yeah, well, you know, when people look back in 20, 50, 30 years at this day, we're going to mention what a crazy spring we've had, aren't we?
It's been a crazy spring,
so
right?
cold and wet.
Yes.
Like I don't remember it in years.
It's been a long time, and I just was reading something that said if you just put your plants in, get ready for them to die, basically, because even when it gets sunny out, it's too late. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I just read this thing, and so I got worried for my plants.
You did?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about that?
I don't know. I'm probably going to try to get some organic spray of some kind
right.
to spray them.
The fertilizers kind of...
No, not fertilizer.
No,
it's something organic that doesn't have anything to do with fertilizer, but it sort of helps with the fungus and the mold and the mildew. I don't know, Gino. I'm just trying to have some plants for the summer in my garden. They'll probably die, and I don't know what.
Right.
What do you do? The deer already ate the tops off all of my flowers that I planted in a certain area of my yard because I didn't get the deer away on there quick enough.
You got to plant stuff that deer don't like.
I know, and I have some interspersed lavender along, but no, they don't like that. But unfortunately, I put some other stuff that apparently they love.
Oh.
You can't win.
Right. Well,
I don't know.
the lull before the storm right now.
It's the lull. It is, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
The Book Fest is coming, right? That's the next big one.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not totally up on what's coming up off the bat.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
it is.
have that really
It's either this weekend or the next weekend.
written down. Okay, well, you can deal with that.
All
I'm
right.
trying to just operate a town here, Gino, and it is no small task.
It's never been like this, Libby. This is the craziest we've ever seen it.
Is it?
And is it ever going to just kind of peak, do you think? Do you see a time when We don't have all this construction, and we don't have all this
I really don't know,
work.
because in 2008, 2009, 2010, remember we thought we're never going to see what we saw the preceding years of that, and look what's happening now. This, I can't see how it could get better than it is now.
But we only have so much land, we only have so much space.
Well, right, exactly, yeah.
The way we've got it set up, so.
Okay, we could go on all day about our philosophical issues, but
Yeah.
that's what's going on in town government. Thank you. See you next time.